you and Jay would push for it. I actually watched a hockey game. I watched overtime, a game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals between the Vegas Golden Knights, which I thankfully learned from you this week that they are not the Las Vegas Golden Knights, the Vegas Golden Knights, and the Carolina Hurricanes. And from what I am being told and reading, this is the greatest Stanley Cup final ever. Through 3 games.
It certainly has a strong argument. No league has been safe. It's amazing. Like in game 1, Carolina jumps out to a 2-0 lead, and they end up losing. I think game 1 was like 5-4, something like that. Game 2, they end up going to overtime, and Carolina wins it there. Game 3, Vegas is up 4-0. Carolina scores 3 goals in a span of 39 seconds or something crazy like that. It ends up going into double overtime, not to mention Mitch Marner, who has just like exploded since leaving the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Maple Leafs have to be kicking themselves right now. He gets a hat trick in a span of like 5 minutes in the second damn period. I have no idea what the hell we are going to see in game 4 tonight. I don't know.
Did Vegas switch out their goalie after those 4 goals were scored? I thought somebody did.
No, Carolina did. They pulled Freddie Anderson and put in Brandon Bussey. So we will see who they start for game 4 tonight, which it's weird. And we were talking a little bit about this before the show. Game 3 was on Friday, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And then they took 2 days off.
No, game 3 was on Saturday. Game 2 was Thursday. Game 1 was Tuesday. So it was every other day until game 4.
Yes.
And the reason for that, obviously, was because of game 3 of the NBA Finals, because ESPN and ABC share the finals issue with both the NBA and the NHL. But it makes me wonder, why couldn't they have done game 3 of the NHL Stanley Cup last night, or Sunday night, and done game 4 tonight?
I don't know. If this series goes to a game 7, it would be
Wednesday, June 17th.
Yes, a week from tomorrow.
Which would be right after game 6 of the NBA Finals. Now, part of this may be, obviously, both are trying to navigate through the World Cup and what Fox is going to do with the World Cup. The other thing is, and I think I told you this last week, and I know ESPN, obviously, the big thing with them is the NBA. I have never seen a Stanley Cup final less marketed in my life. Like I don't even remember. Like, the only reason why I remembered the game was on is because you texted me, you better be watching the Stanley Cup final right now. And I looked at the score and saw it was going overtime.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, with ESPN, they have, I forget who the main lead guy is. It's Stan.
Well, it's Sean McDonough, who is the play-by-play guy. Steve Levy is the guy that runs the pregame.
Steve Levy. Yeah, I'm talking about like the pregame and intermission report. It's Steve Levy, thank you. Mark Messier and PK Subban. That's all they have. And then in terms of the play-by-play, it's Sean McDonough and Ray Ferraro.
And are they remote? Because it kind of looked like it, because they were showing the split screen.
No, it's that Sean McDonough is up in the broadcast booth. Ray Ferraro is down at ice level.
Why are they doing that?
That's just how they generally do it for the NHL.
Really? Because I don't remember when Doug Emmerich was doing it, and I forget who the color commentator was, but I thought they were both in the booth.
Yeah, and then the third guy would be down at ice level in between the 2 benches.
Right, but they only have 2 guys for ESPN.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Like I told you, I like TNT's pregame coverage and intermission reports better because they have Henrik Lundqvist, who's one of the greatest goalies I've ever seen. They have the great one, Wayne Gretzky, Paul Bissonnette, and they have others. I don't get it. Like, the NHL has been fantastic the last couple of years. Go back to the Stanley Cup Final, not last year, but
2 years ago. I remember Edmonton came down 0-3, forced game 7, and then lost to Florida.
Yes. And hockey had all this great momentum. You and I were talking about how fantastic Four Nations was.
No, I forget if it was you or it was another one of my buddies that I texted. I said, so pretty much they wasted all the momentum they got from the Four Nations game.
I don't think you texted me that, but in a way, I think you're right.
So it goes back to my WNBA. So again, these sports leagues, they get momentum and they don't know how to capitalize on them because they're not used to it.
Yeah. But I'm glad you brought up the fact that they're called the Vegas Golden Knights rather than the Las Vegas Golden Knights, because here's the thing. The Raiders are in Vegas. The Aces are in Vegas. The Athletics are soon going to be in Vegas. But I don't think they're going to have the type of fan support that the Golden Knights have. And if Vegas gets if Vegas gets an expansion NBA team, I think they would get a huge amount of support. You know why? Because the Vegas Golden Knights, they didn't come from another city. They were born in Vegas. If the NBA grants Vegas an expansion team, they are going to be born in that city. It's not like the Raiders who came from Oakland. It's not like the Athletics who came from Oakland. The Las Vegas Aces, they were originally the San Antonio Silver Stars or the San Antonio Stars. It's a little confusing there. But you get my point. Like, it would be like if the Browns when the Browns moved to Baltimore, the reason they got so much fan support is because another team didn't move to Cleveland.
Yep.
The Browns came back as an expansion team. There's a difference there.
No, there is a difference. And I am shocked with how well Vegas has worked as a hockey town. And they, not only, on the ice successful, but in terms of the fan base. I am shocked with outside of Edmonton. It has been a run in the NHL of warm weather cities, basically having mini dynasties, whether it was Tampa Bay, Florida, and now Carolina's back in the Stanley Cup. Vegas could win it here.
Yeah. This is Carolina's first time back in the Stanley Cup since 2006, which is the last time.
Vegas was in it a couple years ago, weren't they?
Yes. For Vegas, this is their third time in the Stanley Cup in their first 9 years of existence.
And that I think is part of the reason why the fan base is so loyal too, is because they're early. Because they made it their second year, right?
No, their inaugural season.
Oh, their inaugural season. I thought it was one of the two.
Yeah.
Boy, how by the way, I think that also set the tone for a fan base. You can't get off to a better start than that besides winning the championship.
Yeah. But again, I think part of it is the Golden Knights, they were born in Vegas. They didn't come from another city. That's why, I don't think the Raiders are getting the type of fan support they thought they were going to because they came from another city.
Well, also, they're a terrible run franchise. They have nothing to cheer for.
You're right about that. But the Athletics, I think it's going to be the same way. They're not a Vegas-born team.
I think if they're good when they get to Vegas because they're slowly on the rise, they could have some fan support.
No, I agree they could have.
The reason I agree with that is because the A's have been talked about there way more than the Raiders moving to Vegas was sort of an out of nowhere move. It's been no secret for the last 5 years. The A's are coming to Vegas. It's just a matter of when.
I understand what you're saying, but again, they're not a homegrown team. So
I agree.
I don't think even if they go on to have a great amount of success, I don't think they'll get the same amount of fan support that the Golden Knights have, or if Las Vegas gets an expansion NBA team.
I'll ask you one quick question more about the Stanley Cup, and we'll get out here on this. It seems to me like it's a very high-scoring Stanley Cup. It's a lot of offense. Was that expected?
No. I think most people were, because these are two really good defensive teams. I think most people thought the score of these games would be like 2-1, maybe 3-2.
They haven't been anywhere near that. I mean, they're getting 4 goals a period.
Oh, I know. This Stanley Cup has been absolutely fantastic.
What would you compare it to in terms of like NBA terms of like expectations?
Oh,
I guess
boy.
would it be kind of like Thunder Pacers a year ago, where it was like, we didn't really think it was going to be that great of a final, and then it turns into a Game 7 series?
Yeah, maybe. I would say
Like, I'm trying to think, like maybe a Sacramento and a Sacramento Hawks, so like NBA championship. I don't know.
I'm trying to think of like what a good NFL Super Bowl comparison for this would be.
Like Jaguars and Panthers.
Something like that. Yeah. Maybe like Eagle. No, do you remember that Eagles-Bills game late in the season where we're like, oh, this is gonna be a great game. It's gonna be high scoring and all that.
I remember we didn't move the ball in the second half. We had negative passing yards and still won the game.
That's kind of what I would equate the expectations of this series to.